Hey folks, welcome back. So this is going to be a little bit kind of unusual video from my regular BMW ones. So what happened is I got a call from one of my buddy who said he had a 2009 Honda Accord 4-cylinder engine with a no start, no crank symptoms. So I thought it could be like pretty interesting and also fun to kind of go with the diagnosis part of it. So I asked him to bring the car over here. So what I'll be like mainly covering in this video is like the actual troubleshooting part on how I determine the starter motor was bad, and also the process of replacing the starter motor. So let's get it started. Okay, so when the car does not start, that could be multiple reasons, and the way we actually approach here is by using the rule of elimination. The way it works is the first and foremost you have to look is for the basic symptoms. In this case, the very basic clue that the car is giving us is as soon as you turn on the ignition, it's trying to click, but there is really no cranking. Cranking in the sense like it's not trying to even trying to rotate the engine over here. So that actually gives us a plentiful of information. For example, if the car is if the engine is actually rotating, then really I don't suspect it as a battery issue or even a starter issue. It could be other things like the fuel pump or anything related to the fuel lines or even like other issues over there. So in this case, we are not even going till that step, meaning like we really don't even need to look into that. So in this case, based on the symptoms I just said, the first thing I'm going to suspect is the battery. But again, in this case, my buddy actually changed the battery like a month ago, but I'm still not going to take any chances. I'm going to measure the voltage and it should be about 12.5. So let's check it out.
Now let's check the voltage.
Okay, so that's a healthy 13 voltage over there, much above than the 12.5. Okay, so with the multimeter connected to the battery, I'm going to switch on the key and try to turn on the ignition and see what happens. Okay, so now let's observe the behavior of the headlight lamp for its brightness and then try to again switch on the car and let's try to crank it and see what happens. I'm going to switch on the headlight. Okay, let's try to crank it. Okay, so that gave us a lot of clue. First what we did is we connected the multimeter to the battery and without doing anything it was showing around somewhere around 13 volts. But when we tried to start the car, it didn't really budge a lot, meaning like it didn't reduce a lot. It was somewhat hovering around 12.5. So again, there is like two things which could have happened. If it's a really a bad battery, immediately, and if the starter is good, the voltage would have like fluctuated like much lesser than 10, 8, 7 or 6, something like that, much lower. But in this case, our voltage stayed almost at 12.5, meaning like what really I understand is the battery is good, but really the starter motor is not consuming the power, meaning like it could be a bad starter. Just to confirm a theory again, what we again did is we tried the same with the simple logic. We tried to turn on the headlight. The headlight usually for a normal starting car, even with a healthy battery, it should kind of like flicker or it should at least like lower a little bit. In this case, it was like as though nothing happened. But again, there is one more thing we need to check. There are no issues between the key transponder and the communication to the car itself. So let's check that as well. Okay, as you can see, there is no flashing green or yellow car key symbol, meaning like the car key transponder itself is communicating to the car. At this point, it's really the battery or the starter, but based on the previous troubleshooting, it looks like the battery is good, so we have to like start to proceed to remove the bad starter. Where it's located is somewhere below the air intake manifold. Air intake manifold is this. It's somewhere below that. Meaning like you need to start by removing all the air ducts starting from the front one, which kind of like starts from here, go underneath, reaches the air filter box, and then you need to remove this air intake duct and leave the throttle body attached to the air intake manifold. But there are like many breather and vacuum hoses. Those has to be disconnected along with the electrical connectors. And I believe there are like 5 bolts on the top and maybe a couple at the bottom of this air intake manifold. Once when you remove, get out the air intake manifold, you get access to the starter motor. So that's the basic idea, and let me go into detail as I actually get near to each and every step. Okay, the first step is to remove this plastic cover at the very front, so that you can remove the air intake duct over here. So it's just about a normal plastic clip. You have to just use a pry like this to just take it one by one. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. So let's remove it. Okay, so there it goes. Okay, so there are 2 more clips. Just remove this and they should slide out. Okay, so this is removed, the first piece. Looks like there is a 10 mm nut over here. There's a 10 mm nut over there. You have to remove that now. If you could see, this is where the nut was holding. Apparently this air intake duct is actually going underneath and coming and reaching over the underside of this air filter. So it looks like we need to remove this air filter box housing itself. So let's do that. So that's a 10 mm again. Mass airflow sensor. Just remove that. And unscrew. There are like 2 screws, one over here and one over there. And there is one more 10 mm at the bottom. Get the battery out. Okay, now let's remove the battery so we'll have more. I'm not sure whether we really want to remove the battery, but it looks like to me if you remove the battery it's much easier to work upon. So let me just go ahead and remove it. All the terminals and the clamp is disconnected, so let's keep it aside. Okay, the whole box is out now. Battery holding box removed. I just removed all the connectors which is attached to the air filter box. So right now it's all about just taking out the air filter box itself. So let's do that, and I also disconnected the mass airflow sensor. There are like a couple of clips actually attached to it. So it's all removed. So let me see. Okay. So the reason I remove this air filter box is, first of all, I'll have some more place in the bay. Not only that, you need to make sure there are no clamps attached to it. But to reinstall it, looks like anyway you need to get the air filter box. Otherwise, I don't think this particular one is going to seat properly. Let me show you. So this one, it's not attached to anything, but if you see, it is the air intake plenum. Okay, so to remove this and reinstall it properly, looks like you need to get the air filter box outside. Okay, so I was able to get this whole air intake plenum. I think you have to just jiggle your way around and just get it done. And what really happens is, this goes and connects over there into this one. Okay, and that's the throttle body. Okay, there it goes. Well, let's remove this plastic cover. I believe it's a 10 mm. The cover comes off. Okay, I think it's time to disconnect the connectors and the vacuum hoses, whatever is required. Really, you don't need to separate the throttle body from the intake manifold. But I think this is the map sensor, so let's start by removing that. I think this is the one which goes to the brake booster. Okay, so that is done. So this connector is the one which comes from the main ECU to the throttle body. So these two are coolant lines, so just make sure no leak occurs. Okay, so let me summarize on what has been removed so far. So starting with this is the connector from the ECU, goes to the throttle body, and there are 2 coolant hoses over here, the throttle body, those are removed. And coming back here, this is the map sensor, and there is one more connector which I'm not sure what exactly it is, and there is a vacuum line, or I believe this is the evap purge line, and this is this vacuum goes to the brake booster. And there are, and also you need to just remove it, all the clampings, 1 2, and there is one more, 3 over here. 5 upper bolts which holds the intake manifold. So I'm not sure if you can see it properly. So there is one over there, 3 4, and there is one more, 5. So let's remove that. And there is one more 12 mm which is the bucket, so you have to remove that. Not sure if you can see this, right over there. There are still some connectors at the bottom, so you have to just gently pry it out. Okay. Just want to make sure. Okay, so I think we are close with the intake manifold removed. This is the starter motor, and this is the big wire which comes directly from the battery, the 12 volt, and this is the connector to the solenoid. So there are like 2 bolts, I'm not sure of the size, one over here and one at the somewhere over here. I'm not sure if you can see this. It's an extended bolt, so remove that. Okay, so this is a 17 mm bolt. Okay, so that's heavy. Okay, and the last one that we removed is the starter motor itself, and it has this one lengthy 14 mm bolt and one short 17 mm bolt, and that nut, which is I believe a 12, which connects to the positive cable of the starter motor. Okay, so now let's talk about all the parts that we have removed so far to access the starter motor. So the first piece is the front plastic cover, which is held by 8 push pins, and then comes the first part of the air duct pipe, which is held by the 2 pins over there. Then comes the second part of the duct pipe, which is held to the frame by one 10 mm bolt, and there is a third piece to this duct which is still sitting inside the car somewhere below the battery housing, and this is just but the engine cover, which is held by 2 10 mm bolt over there. Connected with the third part of the air intake duct is the air filter housing itself, which is held by 2 10 mm bolt, and then comes the place where the duct which actually connects the air filter to the air intake manifold. So believe this is held just by this 2 Phillips screw on both of the ends. And then comes the battery housing, so which is nothing but which has 2 clamps of 10 mm. And then comes the air intake manifold itself attached along with the throttle body. So this one, as you can see, there are like 1 2 3 4 5 and 6, which aligns with all these 6 of the bolt and nut combination, all of 10 mm, and there are 2 more bolts, and these aligned with the which holds onto the frame, the block of the engine, and there is 1 bolt which comes somewhere over here. Okay, here before we just put back the new motor, we just need to do a little bit of testing to make sure the old motor does not work and the new motor actually works. So let's try to test it out. And as per the symptoms for the old motor is like the solenoid was engaging before, but the motor itself was not spinning. So let's verify that. Okay, as you can see, the solenoid is engaging, but I don't see any rotation on the motor itself. Okay, now let's try it out with the new motor. So how this is connected is very simple. Just have a jumper cable which is attached to the battery itself, the positive and the negative going to the respective sides on the battery. And here what you do is the negative side of the jumper actually sits on the body of the starter motor, and the positive cable actually gets connected to the positive nut here on the starter motor, and take one more extension from the positive nut and try to like touch the uh, solenoid point, which is over here, which is a much thinner wire, and just make sure it actually engages. So let's try it out for the newer model. Okay. So now two things needs to happen. The solenoid needs to engage, and also we need to hear sound of the rotating motor. So let's try that. Okay. Okay, clearly works. How it all goes back is all starts from the starter motor itself. Just use all the bolts and the positive cable over here to connect it, and this is the ignition wire which comes from the ignition coil. So once when you get the starter motor inside, I believe this is the PCV, connect to the PCV valve. So this just goes to the back side of the intake manifold, and there is one other I believe it's, I'm not sure about the purpose, this is one other vacuum pipe which gets connected while you hook up. Once these are done, then all you need to do is just put the intake manifold. Then there is all these connectors. This belongs to the map sensor, and I'm not sure about this one, which gets hooked to the other one at the bottom. And then comes the brake booster. This one goes to the brake booster, and this one I believe is the evap purge line. Then this one gets okay, so there are two pipes. These are like nothing but the coolant lines going into the throttle body. They're connected to the throttle body itself, the electrical connector. And there is one more which actually sits at the top of the air intake duct. Then the rest all goes to the air intake filters. And so right now the starter motor is in. The two bolts, the 12 volt wire from the battery, and the solenoid connector are all connected. Now we need to start by putting the intake manifold. It's all about connecting all the vacuum lines and the connectors. So let's start with the brake booster connection. Okay, make sure it's tight. Okay, let's put the map sensor. Okay, so that is done. And let's connect the, this is the evap purge. Okay, let's connect that. Good. The throttle body connector done. Then the coolant hoses. So coolant hoses are connected, throttle body is connected, evap purge is connected, map is connected, and there is one more connector over here that is also connected, brake booster connected, the PCV valve, and there is one more vacuum or breather line which is connected on the other side. So I think we are making progress. So this part is going to get a little tricky to get inside. So this side actually gets connected very well underneath over there. Not sure if we can see it, but there is the intake somewhere over there. That in turn comes to the air filter box. Okay, now that the air ducts are installed, let's start putting the air filter box. Let's connect the air filter to the throttle body. This back. Okay, now let's do the first start and check it out. Okay, so we have reached the conclusion part of this video. So what I did is I did test drive the car for a couple of days, and I did start it multiple times just to make sure the starter motor worked consistently, and actually it did. So we can clearly conclude that replacing of the starter motor actually fixed this no start no crank issue. So if you look at the whole video, the diagnosis part itself was straightforward. The only challenge here is to get access to the starter motor itself. It actually took a little bit more time because you need to remove a bunch of parts, including the intake manifold, to get access to it. So with that being said, I hope you guys actually enjoyed watching this video. And what I'll do is I'll keep posting more videos as and when I kind of get more interesting issues in these cars. Once again, thanks for watching this, guys, and have a nice day. Bye.